guys, welcome to the third Sunday series. My technical support has just put me live before I was ready, so classic Ellie. I'm really excited for this week's one. I have got with me a very special guest. For anyone who doesn't know, I've got Stephen Green with me. Now, Stephen started off from humble working class beginnings. I went to left school with not a great deal. Went on to join the army. A hell of a lot happened up until that point, which we're going to take a deep dive into. But he's more well known for becoming a property multimillionaire. He now has a property training business. But the things that I think are far more cool than that are he recently been on Rich House Poor House, where his daughter Sadie stole the show, and we'll be talking about that. No offense, Stephen. He's done a really cool documentary, which is on YouTube, The Homeless Millionaire, where Stephen literally spent a week living rough, and even went as far as to take heroin, which we will be exploring in a lot of detail. And his story is absolutely fantastic, but he's also a bit of a fitness fanatic. And am I right in saying you're currently training for not one but 2 Ironmans? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to attempt to do 2 back to back without any sleep.
So, without any sleep?
Yeah.
Who needs sleep? My dad always says you can sleep when you die. So I don't know if you saw the start of last week's. Hopefully you didn't, and you'll not be prepared for this. So I did a podcast with Paul. It was back in January, and he asked me a question, and I thought I'll chuck it right back at him. And what he asked was one question that anyone watching this, anyone that follows you, that knows your story, knows your history, one thing that no one will know about you.
One thing that no one will know about me. One thing that nobody will know about me is probably one that you're not going to expect me to say. But I think this is a reason why I do what I do. This is probably not going to be a very positive answer or one that's inspiring, but it's one that's very current and very real. And that my mum is currently on life support machine and has been today. And things don't look too good. So that's one thing that they won't know about me. Why am I actually saying that? Because as the conversation comes on, I'm pretty sure where you will take certain questions, and I will lead back into that of why that's probably apparent, why I've brought that up.
So you've obviously kept that fairly private then?
Well, it's only come out today. So it was this morning she was taken in hospital, rushed there by ambulance, and she's now in intensive care.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a great start to the interview, because I'm like absolutely speechless now. I'm just genuinely absolutely.
That's just threw you a bit, hasn't it?
You're just I'm trying to throw you curveballs, and you're throwing the curveballs back at me. No, but like that's heavy shit, and I suppose it very much. It's quite interesting actually. We're just going deep straight away. I knew this would happen. It was quite interesting because I've been listening to quite a bit of your content this week, and by default, Mark's picked up on quite a bit of it as he's been coming in and out the room and things like that. And we were just talking about how a situation only has a meaning that you choose to attach to it. And I know that, but we're saying there are certain situations where that's a lot harder, isn't it? When it's the death of a loved one, or the illness of a loved one, or somebody that's taken from us too soon, or something traumatic. And I know you do a lot of work around people like that. So I suppose you're having to perhaps rely on some of the tools that you've built up over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got 2 younger brothers. So I'm the one that's been interacting with the hospital today. Both of my brothers have been obviously very upset. One thing that one thing I seen when I was first in a mastermind group, which would have been about 7 years ago, was a guy in there, and his sister was, he got a call in the middle of a mastermind meeting. He came back in the room and he said, guys, I've got to go. My sister has taken ill, and they've called the family, and basically he shot off. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, his sister actually passed away. And when we came together at the next mastermind meet, his sister was, she was only in her 30s, and it had come really, really sudden. She'd just taken ill. I think she had cancer, I forget now. But she died quite suddenly. And I always remember that guy talking into it. Somebody I've got immense admiration for as an entrepreneur and just a person in general. And he talked about how he held it together for all of his family, and then he chose the time that he actually grieved. And I remember I was the youngest in that mastermind group, and I just thought, how can you have that much control over yourself to physically choose when you actually grieve? And to just be that rock solid. And he just said, because he obviously is a director of a large company that turns over multi-millions. He's obviously managing a large organization. Just that ability to go into that mode of right now I need to do this, keep everyone calm, and then organize the funeral. He was the one that organized everything, and then decided after that when he chose to actually go grieve. And for me, as a younger entrepreneur, sort of mid-30s, 36, something like that, I remember just looking at this guy who was about 50-year-old and thinking, wow, like how can you do that? And I guess that's where I am now. I'm at that stage of within my mind where I am able to do that, and I have been doing that today for my brothers and other people around me.
Do you think that kind of gives you that sort of sense of purpose? I know when I've been in situations where I need to hold my shit together when I've got the kids with me and stuff like that, you're just forced to level up, aren't you? But does that not have to come out at some point, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm fully aware of that. One thing that I was never good at was I've always bottled things up from sort of growing up with my parents, because my mum and dad split up fairly when I was fairly young, and I had a bit of a bizarre upbringing where I didn't get recognition. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-30s and I actually had a coach that I recognized that I was still 35, 36-year-old and was still craving my dad's recognition for results. And because my dad's quite sort of that tough mentality, I wasn't getting that. And I didn't realize I was still craving that. And I always remember with my coach getting frustrated and saying, I've done this and I've achieved that, and why isn't my dad happy for my results? And he actually said to me, look, this is not about your dad being happy about your results. It's about why it's actually bothering you. That's what you've got to figure out. That's the most important thing here. And I let it go. From that point, I was able to just let that go. And from that point, like me and my dad, I mean, we've always had a very good relationship, me and my dad, but we don't clash or as much as we used to, because I don't need to feed that ego, and I'm not searching for something that I was before.
That's really interesting. Well, you mentioned about the relationship you've got with your dad. You've been quite open about the fact that you actually spent the majority of your childhood with your grandparents.
Yeah.
Both of your parents had quite extreme depression. Quite often your dad could go a couple of weeks at a time without communicating with you because of his own mental health, that kind of thing. What age did you go and live with your grandparents, and how did that kind of impact you?
So it was 5 years old. My mum and dad split up sort of properly. It's sort of been on and off a bit for the first 5 years, and that was sort of around the point when it became final, just after that. Maybe when I was 6 actually, but sort of around that age. They both went to court and my dad won that, but he had to have support from my grandparents because he had a full-time job. So my dad basically paid my grandma's wage to leave her job, and I lived with them the majority of the time because my dad was obviously, if he was 6 till 2 in the morning, I couldn't stay there because he was out the house at 5 in the morning. If he was 2 till 10, he didn't get home till 10 o'clock. I was already in bed. If he was nights, again, I couldn't stay there. So it was only really on the days off that I could stay there. So the majority of the time was with my grandparents, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And what kind of relationship have you got with your parents now?
I've always had a really good relationship with my dad. We've always clashed because we are very similar in that sort of way. He's very tough. We've never sort of had that love you type relationship and things like that, but that respect's there between us both. We've always done a lot of things together, especially physical things. Just yesterday on the bike we put 60 mile in together each, which is not bad, as it reminds me, because he's a 65-year-old. Wow. And he still puts me in my place as well, so I give him credit where it's due.
Bloody hell, that's outstanding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so, I've got so many tangents I want to go. Every time you say something, it's triggering me to another thought, but I need to try and keep some sort of structure to this. I see we've had quite a few more people joining us live. Hi to everyone that's joining us. Who have we got? We've got Steph Prescott, my friend. Hello, Steph. Love you. We've got Mr. Cannon. Great to see you. Andy McChesney. How are you? Hello, Mina. We've got Meiji. Oh, we've got loads. We've got Shona. Guys, do me a favor. We want this to get to as many people as we can. Do me a favor and share this. Start a watch party. Ask any questions that you've got for Stephen. For anyone that's just joined us now, Stephen started off with nothing. He's now a self-made multi-millionaire, ex-army, and we're going to be doing an absolute deep dive tonight. So happy Sunday to everyone who's just joined us. Happy Sunday to Stephen as well.
I've got my half a Copperberg as well.
He's drank the other half. He's been a bit of a rebel. This is the most he's drank since lockdown's finished.
It is as well.
It really is. It genuinely is. I'd love to say the same, Stephen, but I think everyone who's been watching these will know that's a complete lie. Yeah. I polish off best part of a bottle of wine every Sunday. Well, no bottle, but let's not lie. So
love that.
So it had a bit of a profound effect on you when your granddad died, which we'll go into. But you were always quite into your fitness, weren't you, from quite a young age?
Yeah, it was because of the way I was brought up with my dad. So he was because of his mental health, and he was quite ill, sort of mid to late 20s. He had a couple of ulcer operations, and he came out of hospital sort of painfully thin, 9 stone at nearly 6 foot, and he just decided to take up training. And because he got to a really good level, sort of with weights and on his bike, I got the backlash of that because he always looked and thought, what could I have been if I'd have started this from a young age? Yeah. So sort of from the age of 7, 8-year-old, I was always taken into the gym, seeing him training with his training partners. And then at 8, 9-year-old, I was bought a bike. And he literally, first time I got the bike, the next day, he took me on a 15-mile bike ride, which I always remember my grandma and granddad going mad with him. But yeah, he's pushed me ever since. And it wasn't easy. It was, sometimes I recall coming home from school and it was very much, if he wasn't in a good state of mind, it would be, look, there's your tea, kind of don't question it, there's your bike. Just kind of shut up and get out. And I think because of me as a child, I never understood why he had those quiet periods. And I used to question myself, was it something that I was doing? And I knew that he would always be happy, and I would get some a small amount of what's the word I'm looking for? I've forgot the word. recognition, small amount of recognition from working hard on my bike. So I used to want to push myself. I was a young kid. Obviously, you're looking for love, you're looking for that recognition, and I got that if I pushed myself. So I learned to get comfortable being uncomfortable at a young age.
And am I right in saying you were quite poorly as a child yourself?
Yeah, that's right. I was in and out of hospital quite a bit when I was sort of age of 7, 8 year old. I always remember my grandma saying on a few occasions they didn't think I was going to pull through. I was just very frail, very small. At school, I was 5'3" when I left at 16-year-old. So I was the smallest lad in the whole year, and the second smallest person in the whole year group. There was only one female out of like 150 people that was smaller than me. So I was always very small and frail, and I guess that's what also pushed me as well, because my dad was obviously strong, he was fit, and I used to look up to him. He was this perfect role model of the big, strong action man dad that I looked up to and loved, and I was the opposite to that. So there was that real, should we say, confusion within myself of what the ideal person was and what I actually was.
Did that play a part in you joining the army?
It probably did, yeah. I started to train when I was 19 years old, and that came about. I remember sort of 18, 19-year-old drinking with my mates. We used to get stoned and stuff like that, sort of testing things. And I always remember one of my mates laughing at how thin I was. And at the time, I was like 9 stone. Well, I was, because I've still got the training logs. And because I was stoned, and you can sometimes go in that paranoid sort of state, I remember just thinking that like I'm a feeble excuse for I'm meant to be a man, and I'm small and skinny, and I remember just thinking that night that I need to be more like my dad is. And I remember the next day saying to my dad that I want to start training with you, and he said to me, I won't let you in a gym until you can do 5 sets of 15 press-ups. And I shit you not. So I'm 19-year-old, and I'm guessing probably 99% of people listening now could go do 5 sets of 15 press-ups. It took me 3 months until I could do that.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, until he would even let me touch a weight.
Well, knowing what you're working towards now, that sort of seems inconceivable. So, okay. How did that lead up to you joined the army? What age were you when you joined the army?
21.
21, okay. And how long did you stay in for? How long did you serve for?
12 years, just short, 11 and a half years.
Wow. And you've done active duty in Iraq?
Yeah, Iraq twice, Afghanistan, Oman, Saudi, Kuwait, Kenya, Falklands. Yeah, quite a few places, a lot of time in the Middle East.
And I'm quite sort of fascinated to know what is, from a young guy, I can imagine it's a very attractive sort of sexy package, joining the army, very alpha male, get the uniform and all that kind of thing. How does the reality kind of compare to that? Because going out to Iraq in 50-degree heat with fucking flies everywhere, your own body weight on your back and people trying to shoot you does not sound like much fun.
I think that the army, like, I can laugh about it now, and it's like, I mean, my nickname for many years was the social hand grenade. That's what I was called.
Really?
Yeah. So I got arrested 6 times in 1 year.
I was going to mention that, but you get it out first. Go on.
Pretty good going. I would usually be in not 1 fight in a night, but 2 or 3 in a night.
Good effort, Stephen. Good effort.
I was just a nightmare in general, but I think that there was a number of things for that. I always trained hard as a kid, and I was pushed, so I had that mentality. I had that strong mentality. Just my body didn't represent what was inside of my head, and I was very fit. I was just very, very small and skinny as well, and I always had. I had a chip on my shoulder as a kid. I always had this big, like, fuck you, I want to prove you all wrong. Like,
I'm still like that. I'm 37.
Yeah. It kicks in sometimes. I have to control it. But yeah, I had that for many, many years. And I think going into the army and the fact I had been sort of that small kid, once I started to put on some weight and things like that, I guess that went in my head a little bit. And I realised that I am now strong, I am fit, I'm in the army, and no one can say them things to me anymore. And it was, if my identity was attacked in any sort of way, like anyone sort of said anything to me, I would just take it personal. I would just lash out. That was my answer to everything. But on reflection of that, I'm not surprised. It's like with army lads, to put it in sort of to build a picture for anyone who's not been in the army. You're going in the army, so for me, I was 21-year-old. You put in a group with 40 lads, most are alpha males from all over the country. Most want to sort of get a bit of name for themselves. The amount of fights that you have in training, not just me, I'm on about as a whole, because you're very competitive. You're all sort of at that age where testosterone's high. Yeah. And it sort of is that survival of the toughest, the fittest, the strongest. And then you're getting taught how to kill people. You're being trained to put a bayonet on a rifle and how to stick it into sandbags representing the enemy. And they're asking you to scream and shout things like kill, kill, kill. You're going to Afghanistan and Iraq and you're seeing what you do see. You're losing people out there that are good friends with you, and then they put you back onto Civvy Street and expect you to behave. It's just like, it's just crazy. I mean, there's a lot, the military have done a lot of work now, to be fair on that, and lads aren't allowed to just come back from tour and go straight on leave. They've got sort of these, I forgot what they call them. It's like, it's sort of these detox stages where they have to be on camp for 2 weeks to sort of go back into the norm, acclimatise type of thing. There's a lot of support. There's a lot more awareness of mental health and things like that, because of the effects of what it has on you going to operational tour and the things that you do see.
Well, I know Gemma got quite emotional at Rich House Poor House, didn't she? And she said it was like just watching you kind of on self-destruct almost. So you went out there relatively fine in terms of your mental health. I think it was your Iraq tour, wasn't it? And where you were particularly low. So I know that one of the things you've said is you kind of lost a bit of that weight, that muscle mass, because you're out there in the 50-degree heat, which was linked heavily to your self-esteem at that point. But how, I'd imagine that there would have been, the majority of guys out there would have been not in a great mental state in that environment. I think it's fair to say it's pretty horrific. What do you think it was for you specifically? You've been open and you've said at one point you were literally looking down the barrel of a loaded gun. You know, you were that close to kind of ending it all, which I'm passionate about mindset. I'm nowhere near as far down the path as you are with it, but to speak to somebody, I'm quite open about the fact that I've struggled with depression, I don't like to use that language because it sounds quite negative. And I've had periods in my life where I would have found it easier to be dead. But I think that's probably, well, it is definitely a step behind looking down a barrel and thinking I'm fucking ending it. You know, like, what did it take you to get to that point, and how do you get yourself out of it?
I think it just broke me down gradually. I'd been to worse places, to be fair. I would say Afghanistan was worse than Iraq in a lot of respects. But what it was with Iraq was we were the first ones over the border. So we were the first ones setting up. And the conditions were absolutely fucking brutal. That's the only words I can use for it. And We had 4 litres of water a day in 50-degree temperature, and that was to wash with, shave with, shower with, and drink with. So instantly, you couldn't have a shower and things like that. Then things just went out the window. Hygiene was just horrendous. Like everyone had sickness, diarrhea, constantly. Just you got rid of it and then you got it back again. And you're obviously keeping no food down. You're in 50-degree heat. And then you've got the immense pressure of out there, lives are being lost. Every time a life's lost, you go on Operation Silence, where basically you can't ring home. So the take all, I mean, you only get 20 minutes a week anyway to ring home. And that's to try and ring your partner, your parents. You've got 20 minutes to do that whole lot. And as soon as somebody's life's lost, all the phones go down for a week because they've got to have time to inform all of the family and stuff like that. And you were literally, the phones would go down. Because of that, they would come back on for maybe an hour or two, and then someone else has lost their life and they're back down again. And it was like sort of 4 weeks without ringing home. And you had no way of saying to somebody, oh, it's not like nowadays where we've got all of the internet and things like that, where you could just go, oh, phone lines are down or whatever. You literally no communication at all. And I think it was just a mixture of those particular things. I particularly didn't have a great leader out there when I was in Iraq, and somebody trying to put their opinions on me of who I was, because at the time I was an army PTI. So I'd gone from being this very small, skinny lad to actually now I was the #1 guy on camp. I was like one of the physical training instructors that you only have a limited amount on every camp. So I'd gone from sort of that bottom end of the sort of scale of 5'3" and skinny to now I was in really good shape, very fit, very well respected. And I fed off that, my ego of being in that particular place. So to get taken out of the gym and to go into Iraq and then to start to go back to that old form of seeing my body just deteriorating, feeling weak, being sick, it just obviously just triggered all of that stuff from being a kid again. And it just broke me down gradually over a sort of 3-4 month period, to the point it was just like, I fucking can't take this anymore.
So how did all of that impact your relationship with Gemma then? Because she's watched you sort of obviously deteriorate with your own mental health. She's seen the fighting, the drinking, the full shebang. How does that, what impact does that have behind closed doors?
Oh, it's massive. I think that, like, over sort of that period of being in the army, and certainly sort of them younger years where you are in that mentality, and all them alpha males, and you're being egged on, and it's like, it's just a recipe for somebody to have a fucked up mind. It really is. And to certainly that has to come out of you when you're being trained to do that. You're seeing all the things that you're seeing on tour. You can't physically, someone can't come home and then just behave normally. To expect somebody to do that, it's just bonkers to train somebody and to put them in them conditions. And then expect them to behave normally. And I'm certainly not blaming the army, because I do know lads that dealt with it particularly well. But I found even those lads at some point later on that shit has sort of come out and spill out at some point, even if they were able to sort of contain it at the time.
Do you think, I'm sort of a bit of a great believer that everything kind of happens for a reason. Do you think it took those depths of despair, I suppose, you know, to literally be staring down a gun. Do you think it's taken that? Do you think you would be where you are now had you not experienced those lows?
No, absolutely not. I'm absolutely grateful for everything that's happened to me. Like, there's not one thing in my life that I would change. Nothing, from my mum and dad getting divorced, to me joining the army, to the mistakes I've made, for the people I've hurt around me. As bad as that sounds, I would not change any part of it at all, because there's a chance I wouldn't be where I am right now, in the state that I am, and the impact, because of all that, of how I am able to help other people because of that.
So then you started dabbling in property while you were still in the army. Were you always quite entrepreneurial? Was that something that you had inside you, or is that something that you've had to cultivate?
No, I think that was naturally inside of me from a young age. I always remember being at junior school, and one of my best mates, Darren Mowbray, his brother was Tony Mowbray. You might know him. He used to manage Celtic.
I've got a Scottish accent. I'm about to know that.
Blackburn Rovers. That's your way, isn't it?
I live in fucking Doncaster.
Yeah, it's pretty close, isn't it? Somewhere around there. Anyway, I had Tony's autograph, and my dad went and photocopied them for me, and I used to sell them and swap them for pens and pencil cases. So no, I've always, even when I was in the army, I always loved that trading of business. I used to buy things at the market. I used to buy motorbikes and sell them, cars. I've always done that. I've always had a buzz for doing that. Always.
So how did you start with property then? How did that come about?
Just going away, obviously. I got a double bonus in the army, because if you did so many days away in a year, and I forget what it was now, I did over 365 days on tour within a 2-year period.
Yeah.
So you start to get bonuses for being out of the country. And then obviously if you're in Afghanistan or Iraq, you can't spend anything. So you come home with best part of 4 or 5 grand in the bank. It starts to build up. So it was a bit like, right, what do I do with this money? And I just thought, right, I'd put a bit of money into some ISAs, and I just started to think, right, I'll put some into property. And I got speaking to a guy who I know had a couple of properties, and I thought, well, he's done it, can't be that difficult. And went and bought one. It was a really bad buy now looking back, but yeah, it kind of started there, 2006, and I just started building it up from one property to now 77, I believe it is.
Wow, are they all single units, or have you got HMOs?
There's 2 HMOs in that, so 13 of them 77 are 2 HMOs, and the rest are all apartments, 2 beds, 3 beds, 4 beds, commercial units, mixture. Okay,
so that brings us quite nicely onto the fact that we are in the middle, or hopefully coming out of, a global pandemic. We've all spent the last 11 weeks or whatever it is. I mean, I'm literally losing track of the months, let alone the flipping.
It's rolled into one, hasn't it?
It is rolling into one. So I think, actually, I've made a note of this. What was it you said? I was looking at one of your things, and you must have recorded this interview I watched just before COVID got real. And you were talking about fear, and you were talking about the things that people attach to the meaning and stuff like that. And, you know, there's a lot of scaremongering goes on and stuff. And you were going, what's this bat disease that, you know, everyone's getting worked up about? I was like, oh, yeah. little does he know. So I'm guessing, like the rest of us, you've been blindsided. The bigger you get, the more you've got to lose. Talk us through how that's impacted your business, like the inside, like no bullshit, like where were you at? There must have been a moment of panic, I'm guessing, at some point. How did you deal with that? How did you move things around?
There was no panic, and this is what people probably they probably find this hard to believe, but those that are close to me just know that I'm not fazed by anything. Like literally nothing at all fazes me. I've learned, I believe the secret of life is just being present and enjoying the moment. So I've actually enjoyed just watching what comes out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of losing anything, and I'm not scared of dying because I don't believe it exists, which is one of the things with why I am. Don't get me wrong, I'm concerned about my mum, but I don't believe that this is it. And that allows me to see things from a different point of view. So, no, I wasn't concerned at all about COVID. It's just about, as an entrepreneur, I've had to adapt so many different times. There's so many times I've been in cash flow problems, and I've just learned, as long as you can stay in the solution, there's an answer to every single problem, even if you're not aware of it. And it's just a matter of working that out. And again, from being in really shitty situations where I thought I was going to lose it all. And in the past, I have shit myself. There's times in my business I thought, fuck, I'm losing it all. It's like, it's literally fallen apart around me, which it did. I've got liquidated business. So I've experienced that fear, that heartache, that pain. But from all of that, it's allowed me now to just be very, very robust, where I just enjoy it all. I'm in a state of, okay, it is what it is. Let's see how we deal with it. So it did impact us. We did have to close our site. We were hit with the events. We just invested... we just put 12 grand into marketing for an event that we were about to run. And the hotel basically pulled the plug on us. So there was 12 grand's worth of marketing, literally just went straight down the pan. My partner's business, Gemma, she had an event the day after me, and we'd put nearly 10 grand into her marketing. There was another 10 grand, literally. So it was 22 grand just written off, literally like that. Nothing we could do about that. So we were hit by that. We couldn't run our events, so we had to adapt. We had to put things online. But I've got a really good team of people around me, and they're all of that solution mindset. And we've quickly started to turn things around. We actually think that, based on a couple of things we're working on, we might actually come out of this better than what we went in it.
Well, this is selfishly why, one of the reasons I've started this Sunday series. I've had Nick as well. I need to top up. I'm drinking for two. You don't drink much. I had Nick James the first week, who's obviously outstanding at what he does, as is Paul McFadden, who I had last week. And the common theme, and the reason I'm inviting people who I gravitate towards, that either I know or that stimulate me, or, you know, that I'm going to get some value. I know if I'm going to get value out of this, the guys are getting value. I think there's some real gold here. And what the reason I asked you about that, actually, Stephen, you said, oh, you might be surprised, so I didn't panic. I'm not surprised, actually. I know how evolved your mindset is from following some of your content. One of the interviews I watched you recently, you were talking about this big, huge commercial project you've got on at the moment, which sounds amazing. And you were saying in the interview that you've got it's backed against the house that you currently live in. And obviously, with anything like that, there's a risk. As entrepreneurs, we take risks. And you were saying it just doesn't get into your headspace at all. And Mark and I have had similar conversations, because you could take everything off of us. You could take every single penny we've got, but you can't take what's in here. Like, exactly, you can't take that. It would be rebuilt. It doesn't matter. Or the infrastructure that we've been creating, it's not about property at all. It's about building us, building our resources, building our skills, building our mindset, building our fucking resilience. Because you know what? Yeah. You're always in training. That's how we kind of see things. Like, you're always in training. You don't necessarily know what you're training for. Every day is a fucking battle. Mindset, it's like the gym, isn't it? You don't just go and fucking get the body you want and think, fucking brilliant, Netflix and chill now for the next few months. You know, it's daily. And I kind of feel like sometimes when you're pushing yourself, well, there's a few things. I'm going off a few tangents here. When you're pushing yourself, you don't necessarily know what you're pushing yourself for. And then something like COVID happens. And I know based on, I'm not saying it's not been without its challenges. It has been, we've had lots of challenges, same as everywhere else. And myself even more so than Mark, you know, I'm a bit more like that. He's definitely more like that. But I kind of felt that I was almost stimulated, and the common denominator between all three of you so far, all three of you guesses, you've actually turned a situation where you've all got events, you've all got, you know, deals, you're losing money, but every single one of you looks like you're actually going to come out of it having achieved more. And I just think it's, had it not been for all the work we've done on mindset, even just being, forget the business side of it, just being in your house, not seeing family, the whole thing about a situation only has the meaning that you choose to attach to it. We've chose to see this as something that's really positive. We've taken so many positives as a family, personally, mentally. You commented on my post the other day, like physically. I'm like, there's no fucking way. There's just no fucking way you're allowing this situation to take you down mentally, physically, business-wise, or anything. And I hate to use all the cliches, but you have to pivot, don't you? You do have to pivot.
Absolutely. I believe that where I think most people get it wrong is most people train to win. I train to fail. And I know people might think, why would you train to fail? If you think of it, you talked of it there in the gym, for example. When I go in the gym and I'm lifting weights, I need to fail in order to grow. If I don't fail, if I can't lift that weight, if I can lift the weight, I'm not growing. I have to not be able to lift it in order to get the result that I need. And it's no different in business. If people wish away their problems, you are basically saying, I want to stay where I am right now and never ever progress, never ever get better. My mindset not get better, not get more skills, not get more knowledge. You are asking, if you wish problems away, you are asking to stay where you are. So I want them. I want COVID. I want you to hit me with shit. I want you to fucking downvalue my properties because I can't physically get in a better, stronger, more knowledgeable, better version of me without that shit. So it's like, now I want it, bring it on. Because the more you throw at me, the quicker I can learn, the quicker I can become a better version.
When I think of all the challenges that we faced, and this isn't like a woe me, but we've nearly lost it all twice, once in 2010, once in 2016, the growth and the learnings, you learn more through those periods of stress and those hard times than you do, you know, in every other situation. And I don't know if you caught the bit last week when I was saying to Paul, we had a funding partner. We've been working to secure a funding partner. We've been quite in-depth conversations over a period of a few months, and they were basically going to fund 100% of our projects. That was what we'd kind of created. And about 2 days before lockdown, it was just like gone, just like that.
Yeah, and we had the same thing, exactly the same thing. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but for us, it was like, I probably had about an hour where I spat my toys out, spat my dummy out, threw my toys out the pram, and you're just like, I thought, because we're not robots, I thought, for fuck's sake, how many times do you get kicked down and you get back up? You fucking get kicked down, you get back up. And the accountability mirror, Goggins, I fucking looked at myself literally in the mirror and I thought, you can get back up as many times as it takes. Pick up the phone, bitch, and get ringing. And you know, it was almost exhilarating. It was just like, you know what? And the lessons learned, why would you ever box yourself in with one funding partner? That's ludicrous. That's just amateur. Never be in that situation again. And actually we both structured things in a way that we've not actually needed any additional funding. And I feel like I was saying to Paul last week that you in business, you think you're playing all out. I think you life has a way of convincing you sometimes. You think you're getting up, you're doing your bit of fitness and this and that, and business is going great, and yeah, great, and maybe comparing yourself to what some other people are doing and thinking, yeah, we're doing all right. And then something like COVID happens and you're like, fuck, like we're coasting, we're not doing anything. We're not streamlining things. And I don't know, this is a bit of a tangent, but I don't know about you, but one of the biggest things that we have, you're obviously far, more successful than we are, but one of the biggest...
What you define as success?
Not money necessarily, at all. Your mindset, which is why I was drawn to you in the first place, your bulletproof mindset and the skills that you've honed, because that's everything. Like you said something about how your self-esteem and how you define yourself is basically where it all stems from.
Yeah.
And I look at where I was 2 years ago and where I am now and how much better I am in every aspect. And I also know that I've not even fucking started. I know that I still have massive self-esteem issues. I still have massive confidence issues. I can go from thinking I'm going to rule the world 1 hour and then thinking, oh, who the fuck's going to, nobody's like my post, oh, fuck's sake, that's it, I'm coming off Facebook, fuck this property shit, Yeah. And I just think, in my good days, I think, well, that's fantastic, because if we can achieve the level of success that we have without cultivating all those skills, it's like, we really haven't even started. And you've been working on your mindset, and you've had mentors and stuff for a lot longer than I have. I'm 2 years in. It's nothing, I think, yeah, we have done well. We've created some waves. We've got a lot of traction. We've done well. I'm proud of what we've achieved. But when I look at people like yourself, so to answer your question, what do I find as success? To be in a situation where you can handle the sort of news, because this is what it's all about, really, isn't it? Like what you started off this conversation with, the really, it's not about money, it's not about this, it's not about that. When your mum's in a critical condition, and you've got the mental tools not to, nobody's ever going to be all right with that, but to be able to come on here and speak to me, because in that situation, I'm nowhere near that. If I'd have got news like that, then I'd be bowing out for a week,
Yeah, I think it's just a shame for my mum in terms of, I hope she's able to listen to this interview, but being brutally honest, the feedback that we've had, it's probably unlikely. That's what we've been told. Part of her heart's failed, and she is on life support, and the chances are she probably won't ever get to listen to this. That's me just being honest. And the only thing that I find sad is that not just my mum, but people who don't find why they're here, because forget money, forget the fucking houses, the cars, everything. The most important thing is finding out the reason why you're here, and understanding that it's not about you, that this is all about the lives that you impact when you're here. That's what this is about. When you get this shit off yourself, which all of my life, it was about me. It was poor me ill, me, this small skinny kid. Now it was all about the ego and me having to be this big hard and fucking fight people and prove every person wrong. And it wasn't until about 4 or 5 years ago that I realized that fucking none of this was about me. It's about other people and how you can impact other people. And the thing what I find sad is that my mum never found that. She never found why she's here, and she had a bigger purpose than what she did have. And what makes that apparent was this morning I went out for a run. So I'd gone out for a run this morning, and I was running along the beach, and there was an elderly lady. It always blows my mind why people from Redcar don't go use the beach and appreciate and things that we have. And I looked at this old lady. I was running along, and she sat on the bench, and she just had a massive smile on her face. She was sat by herself, and I just watched her watching a family on the beach. And she just sat there with a big smile on her face, just you could just see she's just completely present in that moment. And I thought, she's got it fucking sussed. She sat here on the beach at 7:30 in the morning, watching the sun coming up. She's got it fucking sussed. And even if it was only for a short period of time and she goes back to a life of problems, I don't know. But in that moment, she had it fucking nailed. She was in the moment, present, and just enjoying life, the experience that it is. And that's what I think we all need to do.
What does success mean to you?
Success to me is about, I believe this is something bigger than all of us. Like I say, I believe it's about the lives that you impact. So for me, I would honestly, like, people, again, that might not believe this, or they might not understand this. If I could swap the feeling that I had and give it to the world, I'd sacrifice my life right now. If that meant that I had to die in order for everybody to feel the way that I do, I would do that instantly now.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, that kind of brings me on to your documentary, because I said in my post when I was introducing you as well, like, you've got a huge heart. I think that's fairly evident, because I think money is not the measure of the man. And for anyone that's not seen it, like, Stephen has literally, you went and took heroin, didn't you? How many days did he take heroin for?
Took it for 6 days on the bounce.
Fuck you know. Talk us through that, because I've always been curious. No, I don't want to take it, but clearly it's good. Otherwise, people wouldn't be so hooked.
Yeah. It doesn't matter where you are. So whoever's listening to this, if they're listening to it now live, or they're listening to this on a recording, wherever your life is, there's a better place. There's a better place than where you are right now. There's a better version of you. There's a stronger, more educated, more peaceful, more spiritual person than all of us right now. And the whole thing with that documentary, I wanted to do that for 5 years, was take everything off me, take my money off me, take my phone off me, take my assets off me, take my connections off me. I will show you how I can work my way from what people would deem as a shitty situation, being on the streets, under the influence of heroin, which I was fucked. And if you've seen that on the video, there's no faking that. You can see the state of me on the video. Put me in that situation with no money, no food, no hotel, and I'll work my way out of it in a matter of 7 days. And I did.
So for anyone that's not seen it, Stephen, basically, the reason he took there and the reason we were on the streets, it was to sort of demonstrate the power of the mindset. And basically his objective was he was completely unshaven, you had like poor personal hygiene, all that, because like literally living in a shop doorway, weren't you? And his objective was to get a job, to get an apartment, with all of the challenges that the homeless face, the fact that they've not got a CV, they've not got a bank account, they've not got references. Yeah, and I know this firsthand. I've worked with homeless people, which I'll come to. I think again, there's quite a lot of synergy in this, and you did it basically, and you made the experience as authentic as you possibly could. Of course, you're never going to be able to tick off all the boxes, but you took the heroin. You tried to literally kind of do it from, you know, to make the experience as genuine as possible. And what, other than to demonstrate the power of the mindset, was there a further meaning behind that? Because I know, is it a third of homeless people are ex-forces?
Yeah, there's a huge a third of there's a stat that says a third of all homeless people are ex-forces. There was a couple of reasons. One, because I want to show people, no matter where your situation is, you can improve it. And I'm fully aware that people on the street, apart from the ones that I interacted with, they're never going to see that YouTube video. This was for people that the likes who are watching this right now, just to show that I'll take my life to a place that's a lot shittier than where you are right now. So whatever you're facing right now, I'll go get myself addicted to heroin. I'll go put myself on the streets. I'll put myself in that shitty situation. So I wanted to show that it doesn't matter where you are, you can improve your situation. What I took a lot of criticism for was people said, yeah, but you've got a solid mindset. People on the street don't. And this is that was my whole point, that I'm on heroin exactly the same as they are. I'm in a doorway the same as what they are. They could get up, and if they had the mindset, they would be able to do what I'm about to go do. And that was literally, it was a numbers game. It was just a matter of me going into all the barbers and saying, will you give me a haircut? I was fortunate. The very first one I went into actually gave me a haircut and a shave. To get the clothes was a lot harder. I got loads of rejections, and then to get the job and the apartment was harder than I actually thought it would be. I did underestimate that, and to the point where an element of frustration did come out in me. If you look at the documentary where I'm actually shouting outside the bus stops, excuse me, has anyone got any jobs going? That was because I'd had about 200 knockbacks, and I thought, fucking hell, like, this is almost impossible. Like, I knew it was a numbers game, and if I asked enough people, I'd get a job. But everyone wanted to see a CV or what's your history, where have you come from? And because I couldn't talk into any of that, I was massively restricted. So in the end, I thought, right, fuck it, I need to scale this up. I can't afford to go into single shops. I need to start shouting this on the streets. And that's what I did. I literally went into Weatherspoons and things like that and got the attention of 30, 40 people in a wanna, just literally shouting, excuse me, can everyone listen in? Does anyone know of any jobs going? And we got a fucking breakthrough.
Fucking absolutely insane. So how many, like, you met a lot of people, and you met some really decent people. How many of them wanted to make a change, and how many of them were, when I've worked with the long-term unemployed before, like literally the hardest to reach, people have been unemployed for 25 years plus, and people with no fixed abode and all that kind of thing. Our job was to try and support them back into employment, and to try and help with all these elements, you know, the CV, the bank accounts, the personal hygiene, the accommodation, and all of that. And I was just like, I was very naive. I was in my early 20s. I was like, we can solve all your problems. We have partners. And I was always shocked at the amount of people that they weren't interested. They were quite happy with their lifestyle on the street. It was almost a choice for them. Did you find much of that?
Yeah, it was pretty much 99.9% of that. A lot of them, because of the meaning again that they put to things, was a lot of them would say, I don't want an apartment. You've got all that stress of gas bills and electric bills and all of that council tax to deal with. And you could see them just getting stressed out, even just the thought of that. So most of them just didn't want to go there because they didn't want to experience that. A lot of them were heavily addicted to drugs. I only met one person that wasn't addicted to drugs the whole week, because what they do is, those that are selling the drugs, when people are on the streets, they go give them drugs to trial free. And I had it to me, people coming up to me, they realised I was new on the streets, people saying, oh, you're homeless. I said, oh, yeah, I've had a bit of bad luck. Because that was the story I was saying. I've had a bit of a run of bad luck, and I'm out on the streets. And guys were offering me drugs free of charge. And the reason they do that is to get you on the drugs, get you hooked. And then now, obviously, you're going to beg and they'll get that business off you for a lot of years. So they're in a difficult situation where they're under that. When them lights go down in Leeds on a night time and it starts to get cold and it gets dark and it becomes a very different place, it's very easy. I can see how for them, when people approach them and give them a bit of comfort, talk to them, and hand them a bit of free drugs of, hey, look, have a bit of a try. This will make you feel better, with the purpose to obviously get them addicted. And the spice that they take, the drug spice, it's scary to see what it does to people.
I actually, in my previous life before property, I worked in prisons for 9 years.
Yeah.
Seen firsthand spices. Yeah. In my view, it's 10 times worse than heroin. Even it's seeing people convulsing and fitting and like nothing seemed to put them off. It was just horrific, shitting themselves. Like they weren't fazed by it, and then they come out of hospital and they take it again. It's just
Well, that's what they made it for. When we were on the streets, we spoke to a lot of homeless people, and they said that spice was made for the jails and the homeless because it's so cheap. But yeah, it just destroys lives completely.
So out of the guys that you spoke to, you've got a big heart. You couldn't kind of help but offer everybody a job. You were like, anybody that showed the slightest bit of spark, you were like, we'll sort you out. And there was one particular guy who's meant to come and meet you, wasn't there? And he didn't turn up. Have you kept in touch with any of the people you met on the show? And has any of it came into fruition in terms of them taking the next step?
No, nobody actually took any action. I do keep in touch with a few people though. We went out on the streets at Christmas time. We went out giving out presents and things like that at Christmas time, jackets, sleeping bags. And some of the people that we met who actually give things out of the homeless, some of the supportive teams, we're still in touch with them as well.
That's brilliant. Guys, do me a favour. Hit the like button if you want to hear me ask Stephen about orgasms. Now there's words I never thought I'd say, but I've said it.
So are we going into the you're going to ask on oxytocin here, are we? We're going
yeah. Yeah.
Let's do it.
We're talking about the mindset. Mindset is by far the biggest thing that drew me to you, because it was your property credentials speak for themselves. There's two things I want to just go a little bit deeper on. The first being the mindset stuff, and the reasons. There is a reason, guys, that we're asking about the orgasms before you all start thinking I'm absolutely insane.
Yeah, what the hell are we going on about here?
I was just thinking, well, she's been on an hour.
People did that when I did the build-up of it.
Yeah, I said to Mark earlier, we were chatting, he says, I'm going to be asking Stephen about orgasms here. He said, all right, okay. So yeah, explain.
Okay. This we've got to be careful with this one, or we would probably be all right with you, but your audience, because they're not as sensitive clearly if they're following you. But when I've talked into this, sometimes this can really get this can really upset people. So people's mental health, like when people go to the doctors and they talk about having low serotonin levels, so that they've got low serotonin, so they need medication. What you've got to understand is serotonin is a byproduct of a particular type of behavior. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I bring orgasms into it is because when you physically train your body, so if you run and you train, you release endorphins. When you have sex or connection or an orgasm, you release oxytocin. They are neurotransmitters. They're a byproduct of doing something. And serotonin's exactly the same. Serotonin is a feel-good factor based around your self-image, your self-esteem. Yeah. So people are walking around, I'm just making up, I'm not saying all people are doing this. I'm stereotyping a particular sort of person that might say this. So someone's going around, they've got no job, they're getting out of bed at midday, they can't be asked doing anything. When they get up, they're watching loads of shit on TV about murders and rapes and crime. They're picking up the paper, they're feeding the mind with all of this shit. They're then surrounding themselves with negative people who just want to drink, don't want to do anything, aren't going anywhere in their life. People who'll just pull you down. And they're living in this spiral, but they expect to feel fucking good. It's like, it blows my fucking mind. How do you think you're going to feel good when you're behaving in a particular way? Now, I'm not saying everybody who's on medication or feels shit is living their life that way. I'm absolutely not. But all thoughts are controlling emotions. That's a fact. I don't care who you are. You put any doctor on here now, any medical professor on here now, and they cannot deny that your thoughts are controlling your emotions. And if you learn how to control your thoughts, and what you're physically focusing on, that changes your emotions. That releases serotonin. It's the reason why I use the orgasm, because you've got, you don't just have, everyone talks about throw the serotonin word about, but you've also got dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, which you get from training. Dopamine you get from achieving things like goals and things like that. But they're all released by a byproduct of doing something. All of them, we understand that endorphins are released because we train. Dopamine's released because of target-driven things. Oxytocin's released by connecting with people and orgasms. Yet we just think that serotonin, we're entitled to our daily dose of it if we live in a life of shit. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. And it's about being able to control that and what you focus on. This is the reason why I'm able to get clients who have worked with doctors for 15, 20 years. Michael Lancaster might be on live. He's a great example of it. Michael, if you're live, drop us a comment. So I want to talk into Michael because he's a great example. Michael was depressed for 30 odd years. He tried to take his life on numerous occasions. He'd had a stroke. He'd been to see every counsellor, psychotherapist that you can possibly think of. He's had all of these different treatments. I had a 45-minute session with him and completely changed his life. He went from having a stroke and being 8 stone overweight to running a marathon within a few months of that session. He's now on a mission to cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats, delivering letters to other people in a positive way. He's completely, not only has he transformed his life, he's now transforming the lives of thousands of people. And all this I've done, in a nutshell, is I've given him something to focus on. I've made him realise why he's alive. And this is that thing I was saying about, I find it sad that people don't find out why they're here. All this I've done was help Michael realise why he was here. That's all I've done. And he doesn't need any medication. He doesn't need any doctors. He doesn't need anything. He's now got a purpose. And that purpose is the most powerful drug you will ever feel in your life.
You think that's your purpose, helping other people?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that's the purpose of us all. I believe it's the lives that you impact. When we argue, that which you do to others, you do to yourself. So if you give out shit, for example, and aggression and things like that, like I used to, you have to feel that. If you want to physically punch someone in the face, you have to feel that anger inside of yourself. So you're going through that same shit you do to someone else. And that's the same as when you love somebody and you're giving and caring, it's because you're coming from that place of love. So if you want to feel good, learn how to impact other people's lives good. As simple as that.
You say it's as simple as that, but how did you go from being, somebody, you were out of the army, you had PTSD, by your own admission, you were drinking too much, you're getting in shitloads of trouble. How did you get your mindset from where it was then to where it is now?
It takes a lot of work in terms. Personal growth it's a never-ending thing. It's not, you don't go on a week's course and that's it. You've now qualified and you've got the positive mind for the rest of your life. It's a life choice. You wouldn't go into the gym and train hard once and expect to have an amazing body for the rest of your life. So why would you expect your mind to be any differently? If you put pizzas into your body and shit food and you don't train and you don't look after it, the result is an unhealthy body out of shape. Why would you think your mind's any different? If you put, if you go and read the newspapers and put and loads of negative shit and watch crime and put yourself around negative people, how do you possibly think you're going to have a positive mind? It's not fucking happening. So for me, there's certain steps, and it is these 10 letters on my. As you know, that's what my properties, my company's called, Discipline Limited. And these letters, they all represent the 10 steps that everybody needs in their life. And when you suss out them 10 things, I believe that's the key to success and happiness.
But how did you find them? Was it through mentorship? Like how did you? Because there'll be a lot of people, you're very involved in what was the first sort of step with that? What opened
I know what you're getting at. Right. I found it because I hit rock bottom. I found it because there was nowhere else for me to go. It was I believe sometimes when you're at rock bottom, there's something down there you're meant to find. And that's what I did find. And that was how it worked for me. What I would suggest for other people is be clear on what you want from life. You have to know what you want from life. What does success look like for you? Because we all have a different picture of what that is. It's not driving the i8 that I drive and living in my house. And
what's an i8?
That's my car, BMW i8.
Oh, a BMW, right?
Yeah.
There's a BMW.
So you've got to find out what's your happy place. That's the key thing.
Orgasm.
Every day.
Yeah.
You've just got to find out what that is. What's that trigger? But when people know that, you can now work towards something. You've now got something to aim for, to work towards. You've got to put yourself around the right people. Absolutely. I refuse to cut on my personal development. And I make no bones that I spend 60, 70 grand a year on my own personal development. I put a huge amount into myself with coaches, mentors, different areas where I'm trying to improve things. Just recently with a double Ironman, the first thing that I did was went and appoint a coach. And I will always, because I understand someone who specializes in something can take you there 10 times quicker than what you can. This is why when I see all that bullshit of people saying, oh, you're a property trainer, it's all a fucking scam and stuff like that. It's like, if somebody fucking knows how to do something, all they're doing is sharing that knowledge with you. And that stuff drives me crazy. It's like, any colleges or universities or any employment, any prison service, like you said you worked in, somebody who knows how to do that job is training somebody who doesn't know. That's all it is. It's no fucking different. And all of these other things, you'll send me on a tangent here, but
go for it, because I was going to ask you about this actually.
The things of stuff like where people go, I'm going to call them tossers, right? Because that's all they are. Anybody who fucking spends their life pulling other people down are fucking tossers. That's all I'm going to say, because it's just a representative of where you are in your life. And all this shit of calling people furus and all of this fucking crap that I listen to. And they say, oh, they're going to get you into a sales funnel and then they're going to upsell you a product. It's like me saying, be aware of fucking Tesco's and Morrison's. They're going to put an advert on the TV. They're probably going to sell you some milk and bread cheap. And then when you go in there, they're going to hope you buy more stuff, and be very careful, because for the next 10 years, they're going to want you to go back there and sell you more things for the next 10 years. Of course, I'm going to create a fucking funnel. Yes, I am. It's a way of collecting your clients.
Business, motherfuckers.
Of course, I'm going to sell more products, because I want a relationship with my clients and I want them to come back. Just the same as fucking Tesco's and Morrison's don't want you to buy 1 pint of milk and not come back for 30 years. So, if you are one of them fucking tossers listening and all you do is try to bring people down, reflect on your own life.
Some tosser is going to share this into a certain group, aren't they?
To be fair, I don't get a lot of shit. I do get my fair share, but there's other people that get a lot more than me, and I just look at it and I just think, the people who are making a name from slating people, I just think they're fucking sad.
I think your clients and your track records speak for themselves, but it can't, talking about the mindset, people who are in a negative frame of mind, you've got to think, what experience have they had? What mind frame are they in to make a profession of pulling other people down? So one of the last things I wanted to ask you about is how, okay, you've always been into your fitness, but you're a granddad. How is this double Ironman came about? Like, you don't wake up one day. What even is it? What does a double Ironman entail?
So a single Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, followed by a 112 mile bike ride, followed by a full marathon running. So I will do that. And the second I finish the marathon, I'll start again. So I'll basically then have another 2.4 mile swim, another 112 on the bike, and then run another full marathon. For as long as it takes. Yeah. And I reckon it's going to take about 30 hours of non-stop training.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how did it come about? Why? When
I was in the military, I was extremely fit. I passed the para course, so I got to wear the maroon beret. I was a PTI in the army, so I've always pushed myself to extreme levels. Since I've been out of the army, it's more about conditioning now. So I love my weight training. I keep myself. I do bits of cardio, sort of just to keep fat burning, but nothing extreme. Since I've left the army, I've done very, very little running at all in 10 years. I do little spells on the bike where I'll have like a couple of months, maybe get up to 50 miles and stuff like that, and then I can kind of toss it off. I'm a sort of a summer rider, but I always train hard and in the gym, and I always watch my diet. I always have done. I've had a lot of people since I've left the army ask me if I'll do challenges. So do you fancy doing a marathon? Do you fancy doing this? And I just said, I can't be asked. I just they're not big enough to motivate me. And I'm not disrespecting anyone who's training for that, because it's a great achievement. But when you've been pushed your entire life like I have, and you've pushed your body to extreme levels like I have, I just don't need to tick them boxes anymore. I've done all that shit. So I always knew that in order for me to do something, it had to be extreme. It had to be something that I didn't know if I can do it. And I don't know if I can achieve it. That is the reality of it. And that's what excites me about it. Sort of the last sort of year, I've been thinking, I fancy doing something, really pushing my body to see what I'm capable of. And everyone was saying, do an Ironman. That's like one of the hardest events you can do a day. And I thought, I know loads of people who've done Ironman. It can't be that hard. So I just thought, right, fuck it, I'll do 2 Ironman. I'll do them back to back without any sleep.
Fucking hell. So Goggins, what do you think of Goggins?
David Goggins wears Steve Green underpants. I've said it.
Do you buy into that 40% rule?
Yeah. I'd like to have a competition with David Goggins after I've done this.
Oh, I'm going to set that up. I'll get Goggins on the Sunday series.
As long as it's not pull-ups, because I'll take that on the chin. What that guy achieved doing pull-ups, that gets my ultimate respect.
When are you meant to do it, the double Ironman?
We're aiming for second weekend in October. So I've only got 19 weeks, which is another reason why a lot of people, and a lot of people I respect in the army who are fit, say it's not possible because it's a year to train for an Ironman. That's the recommended sort of time frame, and to obviously do 2. I've only got 19 weeks, and that's why I sort of did that extreme weekend last weekend and got my ass kicked a bit off my coach because I went well outside my program and I ran a 20 mile. I'd only been training 2 weeks and I ran 20 mile. And the day before I'd just done 60 mile on the bike. So I can turn that on like that when I need to. Once I go into that zone, I have that ability to just be relentless that way. We'll see. It's going to be extremely hard. I'm not under no illusion of what I've set myself, but I'm quietly confident of my capabilities, should we say.
What does Gemma think?
She thinks I'm crazy. Most people do. Even my coach did. My coach tried to talk me out of it for about a week and a half. And then once he realised I wasn't willing to move, he's called it the Utter Nutter event on my training programme.
Fantastic. Well, if anyone can do it, I absolutely know you can. I'm just checking the text, half night, I could literally talk to you all night. We're not even scratching the surface. I think we'll need to do a second one, Stephen, because it's so fascinating where your mindset's at. Last question I want to put to you: where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Oh, where do I see myself in 5 years' time? It will just be the word I'm kind of looking for. It will be what I'm doing now, but just on bigger scale. So my intention is to get into the schools. I want kids to be taught the discipline model. Yeah. I want to impact people across the world. I want to show people what they're capable of doing, because I honestly believe that every person is underperforming, including myself. We're all capable of so much more, and I just want as many people to see that potential that they have, and that spiritual side of them, of just being happy and being present. Because for me, are we not all here just to be happy? If you break everything down, is that not the ultimate thing to just be happy? So as many lives as I can possibly impact, if I can impact every person that lives on planet Earth, then that would be the ultimate goal.
Oh, just every person on planet Earth?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Well, mine, by the way, in fact, I'll just briefly say, mine is to build a hotel in space. So why not? I've been a bit obsessed with all this NASA stuff that's going on.
Well, I've just seen a bit of that. I don't watch the news, but I did catch a clip of that. So
we'll be watching it live. I've just been watching them today. Honestly, I completely lost track of time for this interview because I was watching them going on. They've actually got from the rocket onto the International Space Station, and I just love to collaborate with Elon Musk. He's on my list of people to network with. So yeah,
I think that might be closer than what you think. The way things are progressing.
Well, the Americans, Donald Trump did a speech last night, which I watched live, and I think it's in 2020. Is it next year? The year after they're off to the moon? It's been signed off. The everything's done. The machines are done. Everything's done. The spaceship, everything. The rockets are ready. The spacesuits designed. They've got an Apollo mission, and they're doing a launch pad to go from the moon to Mars within the next 8 years. So it's like things like that just blow my mind a little bit. So if I can build my hotel in space and you can impact everybody on Earth, I think
definitely
not bad. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening, Stephen. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to have to get you on again because I've not even asked you half my questions because we just went off in so many tangents. But thank you for being awesome. And thank you everyone who's watched, and we'll catch up with you all soon.
Thank you, Ellie. I just want to say, I hope my mum does get to watch this, and I don't tell her enough that I love her. So, Mum, I love you, and get well soon.
I really hope she gets to hear it, Stephen. You've been awesome. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.